manga review. Hi.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. What you just saw was an intro that I created using AnimeStudio 10. Now I don't normally do kind of software related stuff, like I'm not into it that much, but recently I just thought it would be really good to get some more experience in animating my own films. So I started to research like different types of animation software that you can do at home. So I thought what I'll do is I'll just talk about what I thought were the advantages and disadvantages of AnimeStudio 10. Also talk to you guys about what it's like to use as a complete beginner. Yeah, I really want to stress how little I know about software. Like I can barely use like a USB stick. Like honestly, I am absolutely useless. So this would be really good for anybody who's just looking to start out like me, and just wants to see what kind of programs are out there. So it took a bit of time to decide what software I actually wanted to use. Everybody always goes on about Adobe Illustrator and you know, the Flash programs, and this is what I think everybody actually wants. The problem is when I looked it up online, it was like, well, I live in England and it was like £650, which is insane to pay for some software. I know you can crack it offline for free, but like as I just said, I'm so untech savvy, I really didn't want to go into the whole like illegal side of it. So I was like, okay, it's fine, I'm going to be legit and I'll just buy something without trying to be dodgy about it, just because it's easy for me, and also I think to an extent so many people steal it anyway. The reasons why the prices keep going up, so there's no harm in paying for it if you can afford it. But $650 I couldn't afford, so I was starting to look at more cheaper options. The names that kept coming up in forums and things like this whilst I was researching it was AnimeStudio and Toon Boom. I looked into both, and the general kind of feel I got was that Toon Boom was better for people who wanted to do frame by frame animation, and AnimeStudio was better for people who were just interested in just like cutout animation, so where you just have a series of keyframes. I'll just go into that in more detail. Especially in 2D animation, a lot of it is drawn by frame, well at least the traditional way it was. So things like the things that you find in like Ghibli animation is you have a lead animator that animates the main poses of a sequence, and then you have people who draw the in-betweens, so the frames in between the key sequences, and this gives like, you know, the steady movement and everything. It's a bit like how, you know, in 3D animation where you're given a model, like a program like Maya or something, where you build a model and then you animate that using the model as a base. It's like, you know, how South Park is animated. That's very typically based on kind of cutout animation, in where you have one pose and then all you do is just move the limbs around. AnimeStudio is a bit like that, rather than, for example, you know, if you think of like a Looney Tunes cartoon where the character's shape is always moving, that's more frame by frame. So, you know, the arm could be fat or thin, or doesn't matter. It can be distorted however it wants, because there isn't an initial product and there isn't a final product, unlike something in 3D animation, if that makes sense. There's like advantages and disadvantages to this. Like I said, the good thing about frame animation is it gives you a lot of flexibility to distort the image. But for me, as I'm just a beginner and I'm not too interested in like the realism of the animation, I just want to animate something so it moves, I just focused on the one with the keyframes. So that's why AnimeStudio was quite good for me, because all I wanted to do was just have an image and move it around. I didn't want to go too technical into, like, you know, personalizing the movement too much or anything like that. In that sense, like, I'm really glad I went with AnimeStudio, because it is exactly what people have said. Very straightforward. You draw the character on, or you can import it from Photoshop or whatever. You shove the bones in and then that's it, and then you just move it around as you want. So like I said, the intro to this video is what I animated on AnimeStudio. Bearing in mind that it was literally the second animation I've ever done on AnimeStudio, I thought it turned out like okay. Also bearing in mind I'm like really untech savvy. I cheated a little bit. You're meant to have different layers for every feature, so you should have a different layer. The face, the mouth, the eyes, the hair. But I just drew directly on one layer. So I drew the face, the hair, the eyes and the eyebrows on one layer, and then I had the mouth on another layer. So that's why I think it looks a bit like, it looks a bit weird, because all the layers aren't moving individually. It's actually just one layer that I move bits of it around when I'm adjusting the frames. In terms of the voiceover, I also did it like in a really basic way. I just recorded a voiceover on my iPhone and then I imported it in. I actually animated the mouth sequence first and then I voiced over it. A lot of studios do it the other way around, especially with like, you know, Disney DreamWorks. They would have the voice first and then they would animate around the voice to give it personality. I did the opposite round because it's easier, and I actually think in anime this is how they do it. They won't animate the voices first. I think they animate the sequence first and then people voice over it because the lip movements aren't that specific. Especially if you watch very cheap animation like Pokemon or something, the mouth literally just moves like that and it basically has no differentiation between vowels and consonants and things like this. So yeah, I think I'm going to be sticking to that method probably because it's just a lot easier to animate over it, and especially if I know what I want the character to say, it is definitely easier. Those are like some of the advantages of AnimeStudio that I found so far, that it's really easy to use, very straightforward to do basic animation. I think it allows a lot of flexibility in what you want to do. Some of the disadvantages though, I think if you want to move away from just really straightforward flat 2D animation and add shadings and things like this, you need more layers, and I think that requires a lot of practice. I've read on forums that you can practice using it a lot, but then if you don't use it for a couple of months, you forget how to like combine with the different layers and things. But I think that's fine. I think if someone like me can use it, I think pretty much anybody can use it. So nowadays there seem to be two different ways of buying software. So you either download it offline or you buy a hard copy. And I know recently in Adobe Flash Illustrator they've done like a cloud system where you download offline or you upgrade using the online system, and this is because people keep trying to rip copies off and put them on the internet. So if you get rid of the hard copy, I think it becomes harder to do that, supposedly. But I also read that this was a huge issue because people are getting worried that, you know, if their computer's stolen or something, they don't have a hard copy to back anything up. Or, you know, if the software goes down, they don't have a hard copy where they can reinstall it. Keeping this in mind, I decided I would buy the hard copy of AnimeStudio and not download it offline, which you can do with both AnimeStudio and Toon Boom, I think. So it came like this. I ordered it off Amazon. This is AnimeStudio 10, so this only came out actually a month ago, so this is really new. I paid £149 for this, which is a lot of money for me, but I could have paid like 90 and got AnimeStudio 9, but then I thought, well, if this has come out, I might as well buy the new one and then I can use this, you know, before they try and upgrade it to anything. So I would say it was a lot of money, but still cheaper than Adobe by like £500. And if I want to actually start making stuff, you know, I want to invest some money in it. So yeah, that's the way I see it, as an investment, basically. So it just came in a CD, normal CD pack like this. Like the packaging probably cost like 5p. And then yeah, you just shove it in the computer, really easy to download. You have to like sign up. I think you have to register for it online. Maybe this is to stop people like copying it or whatever. And it was up and running in literally like 5-10 minutes. And it came with a tutorial, like a PowerPoint tutorial. So I like read through the first few slides of that, and yeah, just went through it. I'll see if I can insert the tutorial animation I did, which would be my very first animation that I tried on AnimeStudio, just by following the tutorial steps. So as you can see, like that was pretty terrible, but it was my first attempt, and I'm not entirely sure how you do moving backgrounds. I kind of guessed it in that the way it works is that you're given like a set space on the screen, and then that's the space that the people can see. So anything around the space, you know, it doesn't matter. So that's how I animated the stars and stuff. You put them outside the space, and then as the character moves, the stars come in because they were above the original space, if you know what I mean. There's got to be a better way of doing that, but I don't know what that way is yet, so I'll keep you updated. In terms of when I started doing my intro animation, I actually used a tablet to draw the first design, so the person's face. This is like just a normal Wacom bamboo tablet. This was like, I think it was like £45. on sale, because this is the old one. This isn't the Intuos one, this is the old one. This is actually, I really recommend it. I might do a video on tablets as well while I'm here, but this is really good, and it actually worked really well with AnimeStudio. I don't know if that's how you're supposed to do it, but there is a freehand tool on the program, so I just literally drew the face right on. I think that's okay. There's a thing called Auto World on AnimeStudio where it's really useful. It links all the lines together. I don't know if you've ever used kind of drawing software. I use this one called Pixlr.com, so it's a free one online, and it's really annoying because if you ever want to fill the colours in, if there's a tiny gap in between two lines, the colour bleeds out. But on AnimeStudio it's really good because it welds it together, so that was really useful when I was doing my initial drawing. Like I said, if I'll do it again, I would have done the face on different layers. Instead I did it all on one layer. In terms of the font coming into the space, like I said before, I drew all the letters outside the allocated box and dragged them in as I was adjusting my keyframes. I'll put a screenshot of what the general space looks like on the program. So yeah, that was just me kind of blabbering on a little bit. I'm not really into software and things, so I couldn't go into it too much. All I can say really is that so far I think it's really useful. I still need to get the hang of how to put audio in and how to do, like, you know, action cycles and things like this. But in terms of really basic animation, I would really recommend it. Hope you enjoyed this video and I hope it was useful, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!